I can sort of imagine being an alien out of space, right? Looking down at the earth and seeing how beautiful, how wondrous, and how abundant this world is, right? And then they look at us and they see how blind we are to the beauty that is all around us. They see how we spend most of our lives wasting our lives. They see how much we spend, searching for meaning outside of ourselves instead of being the meaning, right? And I really think a lot of us have this incessant need to sort of figure out what all this is, right? Figure out, why we're here and what all this is and the meaning to life, so on and so forth, right? And I was thinking about it the other day that, that's truly understandable. Because it's like most of us feel as if, we were sort of just placed here or dropped here out of nowhere by chance, right? And we don't really necessarily have the guidance or, a sort of blueprint to life. And that feeling causes a lot of us to feel empty. That feeling causes a lot of us to feel out of place. And with that feeling of feeling out of place, we go in search of meaning, right? But I really believe our constant search for meaning outside of ourselves, causes us to be blind to the fact that ultimately we are the meaning for which we seek. Ultimately, the meaning of life is truly found within ourselves, right? And see, the meaning of life is so simple. It truly is so simple that it evades most of us. And the true meaning of life is to live as close to the heart as possible. The true meaning of life is to truly live from the heart, or as much from the heart as we possibly can, right? And when I say live, as close to the heart as possible, what I really mean is live in accordance to our desires, live accordance to our excitement, live in accordance to our passion, live in accordance to our needs, to our wants, live in accordance to our love, live in accordance to our soul, right? That truly is what I mean when I say live as close to the heart as possible. And I really believe that the world sort of teaches us to live as far from the heart as possible. The world teaches us that, we sort of need to, go out into the world and chase after as much money as possible, chase after as much achievements as possible, chase after as much cars as possible, so on and so forth, right? And this is not to say these things are inherently bad in themselves, right? I really believe that these things are also meant to be enjoyed. These things are also meant to be sort of a part of this whole, game of life, right? But I really believe in our constant pursuit of these things, it causes a lot of us to sort of feel empty. It causes a lot of us to feel sort of hollow inside. And that feeling of emptiness ultimately causes a lot of us to go in search of meaning, because we're trying to sort of, figure out what more there is, right? That feeling of emptiness sort of pushes us in the direction to sort of figure out what we're truly missing, right? And honestly, the only reason we go in search of meaning is truly because we're not living close to the heart. Because once you're living close to the heart, you don't go in search of meaning. You become the meaning. You embody the meaning, right? Once you live close to the heart or live through the heart, that's when life truly does become beautiful. And you don't try to find the meaning of life, because you're already living it. You're already being it. And you're recognizing that life is sort of always being expressed through you. You're always expressing life. And so you don't go searching for it. But whenever we live far away from the heart, and we're not truly living life on our terms, we're not living life, based on who we truly are and what we truly desire and what excites us, a lot of us sort of feel that emptiness, right? A lot of us feel as if something is missing. But the only thing that is missing is truly our hearts. I've always said that if you're not walking this earth and you're not living in accordance to your heart, then you're truly not living at all. Because a life that is well lived is a life in which you allow the greatest expression of yourself to shine through. It's a life in which you live life based on your terms. It's a life in which you don't live life for other people, right? And I really think a lot of us spend so much time, living for others, that we've sort of forgotten how to live for ourselves. We spend so much time living for our parents. We spend so much time living for our friends. Spend so much time living for, even strangers and people that we don't know, whether consciously or unconsciously, right? We're always trying to, I guess, uphold their standards. We're always trying to sort of prove ourselves to them, and without knowing it, we're living for them. And you can't sort of feel fulfilled, and you can't sort of be at peace if you're living for someone else. And this is not to say you completely disregard everyone else and you don't necessarily take care of other people and look out for other people, right? I'm not promoting sort of separation or isolation. But when I say that you should live for yourself, what I mean is that you should live in accordance to your wishes. You should live in accordance to your desires and your excitement, right? Even as it pertains to, our passions and the things that we love to do. A lot of us deep down in our hearts, we know that what we're doing right now is truly not what we desire to do. A lot of people are in situations, jobs, careers in their lives that they were sort of, they sort of feel obligated to be in because those are sort of the expectations they had around them, right? But truly they are unhappy. They sort of feel that emptiness from within them. Because at some point, they were told that, they should go out into the world and make something of themselves, right? And so they had certain passions, certain excitement, certain dreams that were truly coming from their heart, but they push all that to the side and they sort of allow themselves to fall into the paradigm of success that society has created. But I really think we need to sort of redefine what success is. I don't believe that success is making as much money as possible and driving the most, expensive cars and owning the most expensive houses. I really think the measure of true success is living in your authenticity, is living close to your heart, is truly living life on your terms, right? I can see a person that is a billionaire who deep down they're not truly, happy with themselves and happy with their life. And then I can see a person over here, that is making 40,000 a year, but deep down they're really unhappy with their life. And I would venture to say that the person that is making less, who loves the life that they live, is the true measure of success, right? If you're not happy with your life, if you're not happy with who you are, then you're not successful, because success on the outside means nothing if success doesn't first exist within. And most of us sort of, we know that we're out of alignment. We know we're not living true to ourselves. We know we're not living in accordance to our hearts, right? And I think it's really important for us to begin to live life on our terms. Begin to become the meaning for which we seek. Begin to live from our desires. Begin to live from our greatest expression of ourselves, right? Once you live from the heart and you're living from your heart and your soul, you have no desire to find out what the meaning of life is. You have no desire to find meaning outside of yourself because you're embodying it, right? Because you're being it. And that's when life truly begins to become beautiful, right? Our heart is where our lives start. If you're not living from your heart, you're not living at all, right? There's something I saw the other day that said the first organ, that, we developed was the heart. And if you really think about that, the heart is truly the key to being in alignment with ourselves, right? The heart has the strongest electromagnetic force, right? And so the moment we begin to live in accordance to our hearts, that's when life truly blossoms. That's when life truly becomes beautiful, right? And your decisions, your choices, your form of expression, your passions, your excitements, how you choose to live, it only has to make sense to you, right? It doesn't have to make sense to your parents, it doesn't have to make sense to your friends, it doesn't have to make sense to your community, your religion. It only has to make sense to you. If you decided that your passion was to wake up tomorrow and go live in the mountains for the rest of your life, then that choice only has to make sense to you. And on the other hand, right, if you decide that, your passion, your excitement is to become the next Jeff Bezos, or become the next billionaire, become the next big business owner, right? That only has to make sense to you as well, right? Life only has to make sense to you. Your decisions have to only make sense to you. Your why has to only make sense to you, because it's coming from your heart, not the heart of your parents, not the heart of your friends, but from your heart, right? From your heart. You don't always have to feel the need to sort of explain yourself. You don't have to always feel the need to prove something to anyone else. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your why only has to make sense to you. The reason for why you live your life only has to make sense to you. And if you're at a point in your life in this moment in which ultimately you don't know what your passion is ultimately, if you don't know, what type of job or passion or career you want to sort of embark on, then ultimately I think even in our day-to-day lives we can sort of begin to sort of embody our greatest excitement, right? Your excitement doesn't have to be this extravagant goal. Your excitement could be, making the decision to wake up in the morning and go for a walk. Making the decision to wake up in the morning and go hit the gym, to go, go for a walk in nature, to do something that has always been on your heart to do, right? Those simple things can be our excitement and our passions. It doesn't have to be this big extravagant thing, right? And I really believe if we sort of begin to act on our simple excitement and our simple passions throughout the day, and we sort of begin to live from the heart as much as possible, even in our simple lives, we allow ourselves to sort of be intimate with everyday moments in our lives, right? Then ultimately the universe or God, our source, or whatever it is you want to conceptualize it as, it will begin to point us in the direction that we're meant to go in. It will begin to lead us to, more of who we truly are, right? But it all has to start with, the bravery or the courage to follow our hearts. It has to start with us making the decision, to drop the need to prove ourselves to other people, to prove ourselves to society and our family, our parents, and ultimately begin to live from our greatest expression of ourselves. That's where it truly begins. But I really think, life itself doesn't have any meaning. We are the ones that give meaning to life. We're the ones that attribute meaning to life, right? And the meaning we give to life is all subjective, based on our form of expression, based on our excitements, based on our passions, right? You're not meant to be in a box. And society sort of tries to place every single one of us in a box. You're not meant to be in a box. You're meant to express yourself based on what that expression means to you, based on how that expression looks. That's all you're meant to do, right? We're not meant to be followers. We're meant to lead our own lives. And I really think this world, the reason why a lot of us sort of feel empty and hollow inside, and we excuse me, and we go in search of meaning, is truly because we're not living life in accordance with ourselves and our wants and our needs and our desires, right? That's truly the reason why a lot of us feel lost. But the moment you lose the need and you drop the need to not only be understood but to prove yourself to other people, that's when you truly begin to live. And that's when you truly begin to blossom, right? you have to water your heart. And when I say water your heart, what I mean is you have to begin to follow it. You have to begin to live in accordance to it and with it. Right? You have to make some of the decisions you've been avoiding. Right? Avoiding because you don't want to disappoint people. You're not meant to prove yourself to anyone. And the only reason we spend so much time looking for meaning is because we're not being it. It's because we're not living in accordance to who we truly are. Right? Excuse me. So I say all this to say, life inherently doesn't have any meaning, right? The only measure of meaning is what we give to life. The only measure of meaning is how much time we spend living in accordance to our hearts, living in accordance to our greatest excitement and our greatest, expression of ourselves. That truly is the only meaning to life, right? And the moment we begin to stop looking for meaning outside of ourselves, and we begin to sort of become the meaning for which we seek, that's when life truly becomes beautiful. And that's when all that feeling of emptiness that we experience, that feeling of hollowness, that feeling of being out of alignment, once we begin to live in accordance to our hearts, that's when the constant search disappears. That's when that emptiness that we feel inside falls apart, right? Because we're not searching for something outside of ourselves. We understand that life is expressing itself through us. And ultimately, the meaning of life is to really just live life on our terms. That's really it. So stop searching for meaning. Don't think there's some meaning out there and you're going to discover something that ultimately becomes your meaning to life, right? And even if you discover something that you can say, okay, this is gonna be the meaning to my life, ultimately that's coming from a feeling that is within you, right? So your being, your love, your heart is recognizing that thing. So that thing isn't even, the thing that gives you meaning. The meaning was already there. And you've just recognized and you've come in contact with something that is your greatest expression. So life is about you. You are the meaning to life. So stop searching for it and start being it. Peace and blessings.